Good afternoon. I call to order the Board of Adjustment meeting of February 7, 2019, and I want to welcome you all today and let you know today we just have 3 board members, so it will take 3 to carry any vote on any item, any action item today. Just to alert you, we're down to 3 today. A little warning you have on your sheet, on your docket sheet, be sure to turn off your devices. And there are requests that you, if you're here to be heard on a matter and you're not the applicant, you need to fill out your name and address on a little piece of paper that she'll have there for you. And we also have you come and present your matter if you've not been here before. And if anybody else wants to be heard on the matter and they've signed up, they'll be heard as well. So we will. With that being said, I'm here. Can we receive the minutes of the February 7, 2019 meeting?
Move to receive the minutes for the February 7, 2019 meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to receive the minutes. Let's vote on the matter. The minutes are received. With requests, we have continuous requests, withdrawals by staff or applicants. Could you read those, please?
Yes. We have item number 8, case number 14561. That case is being withdrawn. We also have item number 7, case number 14576, and then item number 4, case number 14574, and item number 5, case number 14575, requesting to be continued to March 21st, 2019.
I move to continue those.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue the items till the March 21st, 2019. Are we ready to vote on that? The items are continued to March 21st, 2019. Items 4D7, 14576, 4D4, 14574, and 4D5, 14575. Anybody out here wish to be heard? I should have asked that before we did the continuance. I think Mr. Box and is there anybody else on that matter? You don't have, okay, thank you. So the other item is withdrawn.
We have item number 1, case number 14571, request for a variance to the maximum 4-foot front yard fence height and the requirement that a fence be see-through in the R1 single-family residential district located at 2905 Donnelly Avenue.
Russell Cox, 2905 Donnelly.
Just go for and give us your address and everything for the record, please.
My name is Russell Cox, the owner of Residence R1 2905 Donnelly Avenue, Oklahoma City.
Thank you.
As far as the fence goes, guys, I realize it needs to be see-through, and that's the codes, but I live in an area where they maybe don't have the pride and ownership that I do. Constantly weeds and trash and things are blown in the yard was the first reason for the 4-foot fence. It's on the south side still. The 4-foot cedar fence I put on the north side, the owner of the property to the north literally in 6 years watered it enough to literally rot the fence off the posts. I got a wife that just can't stand the abuse with the watering, the leaves, and all the issues, so to try to make amends and make everybody happy in the north neighbor and myself as well, I erected a 6-foot vinyl fence. I know it seems excessive, but he's literally been able to water over the top of that fence already since it's been put up. He waters the cars. My driveway's literally spalding. The retaining wall is spalding from excessive water, and it's an issue. I literally pump my water meter base out weekly during the summer. I know they're supposed to water every other day. We've complained to the city dozens of times. We can't get him inspected during the even days when he's not supposed to water. He's finally gone to waiting till 5 o'clock to water now on even days. I don't want to point fingers. I just know that when it got to the point where he actually threatened to have her beat up because they just hate each other that much, we erected the fence, and literally that day, the stress level just completely dissolved with both parties. I mean, literally, it was as good for him as me. Okay, I've been listening to this for 15 years every day. It was out of self-defense that I erected this fence. I may have encroached a little further towards the sidewalk than maybe they feel is necessary. I understand the traffic department came and inspected. Realized my street's 2 blocks long. That's not a through street anywhere. I back into my drive every day, and I pull out very, very slowly to make sure that I don't get into anybody's traffic. I don't have to worry about the kids on the sidewalk because literally the sprinkler is covering the sidewalk every time he waters. So we're walking through the middle of the street every day.
Well, you realize that there are 2 sides. You have a stockade on one side, is that
Yes, ma'am.
correct? And that
Yes,
is
ma'am.
not see-through.
It's not see-through as well. But again, the man let his grass grow 2 foot tall. I had Johnson grass and weeds and seeds and everything being blown in from the south as well.
Well, I hate to say this, but it's a fact of life in Oklahoma that you're going to end up with somebody else's leaves and other debris. I'm not sure leaves and debris alone blowing in the wind is sufficient for criteria, but what you are asking for variances to both sides of the fence.
Yes,
On
ma'am.
one side, you installed in violation of our current requirements, you installed a non-see-through vinyl, I don't think it's a picket fence, but it's some kind of
It's called a
vinyl
solid
fence.
picket, but it's a solid fence
And it's too tall, correct? And you're asking for a variance
for the height and type of fence, yes.
for the height and type. And your fence, I've actually been out there, goes all the way almost to the street and goes over the
And
right-of-way.
again, Ms. Lewis, I would more than happy to concede removing that first 8-foot section to make it a little easier for everyone to see me coming or see them coming, either way. But I need the rest of that fence. I mean, the height and the type of fence is critical for both of these people's peace of mind. I mean, it's a constant fight.
Well, there is a comment, and I will defer to other board members to ask questions also. The requirement is that it needs to be see-through and it needs to be a certain height. And you have to fulfill a criteria that would allow it to be granted a variance, and I will defer to the other board members, but I'm not seeing that in your particular case. Other board members, do you have any questions?
Is there a way that you can vary this fence so we get the view at the end? I mean, can you change the fence? Can you come back?
I could remove the 8-foot of fence from the sidewalk towards the house, and that would give everybody plenty of room and notice to see anybody coming or going. And like I said, I literally back in every day. It's not a busy street. It's a
And-
residential street.
I would be supportive of that if you could do that,
Absolutely.
but I think you have to change your application to do that, or can we do that now?
If he's willing to modify his application to reduce the variance that's necessary, then that's something that could be done today. But if he wants, if the board would like to get more information on different materials or other ways that the fence could be constructed, then that would require a continuance.
I can support your application if you will agree to vary it
Modify
as we
the
just
fence.
discussed,
Yes, sir.
and that's just me. Thank you.
Mr. Downs, that's exactly what I had intended to offer as a try to compromise and make everybody happy. It would just be unbelievably good.
And I'm sorry, but I'm on the other side because I do see, even removing that, you're still blocking some of the view, and I do understand you have had some problems with your neighbor for a long time now. And even just that one fence, the white one, if we go to the other side, I wouldn't feel comfortable approving anything if it's not changed to be a see-through, just for safety reasons. And
That fence actually is
it's small,
quite a ways set back, and it's only 4 foot tall.
but it's still not meeting the requirements.
Agreed, it's not a see-through fence. I mean, I could remove every other picket, and now it's a see-through fence.
Correct.
Well,
The way I looked at that, I
perfect for
don't,
some people, not for my wife, but that's okay.
I didn't see that you could remove the pickets from that design of your
The vinyl fence, I can't. The wood fence on the south side that she was talking about, I can.
And how high is that wood fence on the
This tall.
4 feet? So you would remove, your proposal would be to remove
If you make
every
me,
other...
I'll remove every other picket to make it a see-through fence, but it's kind of a moot point. I mean, but if that's going to make everybody happy and I can keep my 8-foot or 6-foot vinyl fence, I'm in.
Well, we're talking about the one that's 4 feet.
Okay.
If he were to remove every other picket, then he would not need a variance, is that correct?
If he removed every other picket, it would just be a picket fence, and it is under
And that would
height.
be within code, and you guys would be happy.
Now, on your other side, I am looking at the comments from the departments and the agencies. Number one, it's too far out. Should go back, I think you mentioned you were willing to go back 8 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I do think it's necessary there to be some kind of see-through item down
That would
there. I
give you
don't-
the 5-foot sidewalk plus the 8-foot fence. It'd give you 13 feet off of the street that they would see me before I ever entered the street.
No, I want it to be in compliance with I don't see the need for approving your variance on the height or the non-see-through. I think a full plastic one, vinyl one, with the comments of the traffic division, I think it's a traffic hazard, and I don't think it meets any of your criteria. There's nothing unique to this particular area. Leaves grow from yard to yard. If you were to go and stay this, maybe get a continuance and study other materials, be willing to cut back to the original 4 feet. If you wanted to do a picket or a chain fence or something that would be see-through,
Ms.
I
Lewis.
just don't see it being acceptable. And today, we're going to need 3 votes to carry it either way. So if it doesn't pass today, what happens to the municipal council, please?
If there aren't 3 votes either direction today, it would be automatically continued to the next board meeting in 2 weeks.
Right.
Number one, I think everyone here probably agrees it needs to go back that 8 feet. It's a traffic hazard.
Absolutely.
Number two, have you looked at any other alternatives, or you want maybe do a continuance to look at other alternatives so you could...
I can certainly look at other alternatives, Ms. Lewis, but I can say this. I have a neighbor that refuses to follow the rules that you guys have given them in the water department on the daily usage, on the amount of watering that he does, on the days he's supposed to water. It's insane, okay? I mean, literally, I had a 7/8-inch cedar fence that I specifically stained all 6 sides of every board before I built it, and he was able to destroy it in 6 years with his watering. Now, if you know anything about cedar fence, and usually it takes 20 years to damage a fence like that. But literally, if you saw the pictures, my driveway is falling apart. My retaining wall is falling apart because of the watering this man does. And it drives my wife insane. Just the stress level alone that she goes through every day is worth the $1,200 to come beg for you to let me have this fence. I mean, if you could have seen how happy both neighbors are with this division, this simple fence has made that much difference between these two. I mean, it's crazy, but it's real. I wouldn't have spent $8,000 to buy this fence if I hadn't had just been at my ends. I mean, there's nothing else I can do but move, and it's too much money.
Sir,
Further, is anybody else wanting to be heard on this matter? I know we're going to have more board questions, but
I actually took a letter up and down my street that asked them, if you have any issues at all, please let me know. I mean, I'll be glad to change it. If you don't, could you sign this? I sent you a copy of this letter. Everybody signed it, including the lady that called in to complain about the fence to start with, and her only complaint was that she couldn't put one up to separate her and her neighbor. If I pull it back 8 foot off the curb, there's more than enough safety issues resolved. There's no way anybody could be damaged. Everybody can see me coming. I can see everybody. It doesn't affect anybody. It's in the middle of a yard, and it's 2 blocks long, the street is. I mean, I just, if I was pulling out on Meridian, okay, you know, or a busy street, absolutely. But it's a little 2-block street that just doesn't really have the huge demand for this safety issue that he brought up.
Sir, I would suggest that we continue this, and you
Okay.
come back and show us where you're going to remove part of the fence because of the safety hazard, and we'll have the full board here, because right now I don't think that this is going to go through today.
Yes, sir. So I guess I could ask for a continuance?
Yes, sir.
Okay. May I have a continuance, please, till March?
I move to continue this matter to our March 21st docket.
Our next meeting's March 7th, and then we have March 21st.
Anyone works for me. Where would you like me?
March 7th?
March 7th?
Same time, 1:30?
Yes, sir.
we have a motion now.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and second to continue the matter to March 7th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
We're
ma'am.
ready to vote. Oh, I'm sorry. We are ready.
We voted.
Okay. There we go.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 2, case number 14572, request for a variance to the requirement that at least 80% of the front facade and 100% of the side facade of a building be built at or within 10 feet of the right-of-way in the Urban Design Overlay District located at 2400 North Pennsylvania Avenue.
Thank you. Wade Harden, 300 Johnny Bench Drive, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, with Sonic Drive-In. Thank you, Chair, Board, and I'd also like to thank Mr. Wilson for his assistance through the process. The subject site is an existing Sonic that we closed a few months ago in preparation for the development of our new prototype building. The zoning of the site is SPUD 170, which is specific to the use of a Sonic. If you read through the SPUD, it really details, again, it's specific to the drive-in use. We're proposing a very similar layout with similar setbacks that comply with existing SPUD 170. However, because of the adoption of the Urban Overlay District, the SPUD does not conform with the Build 2 lines of the Overlay District. The site was presented and approved unanimously by the Urban Design Commission during their January 23rd meeting. The variance, also I'll point out, is very similar to what was approved for Raising Cane's due south of this site on 23rd Street. And we're asking for your favorable vote, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
As I've been out there, and I can see how that it would be necessary. I concur with my take on the matter is I concur with the recommendation of urban design. Also, as I noticed, and one was, I noticed there's a street. The subject site's also encumbered by a street easement. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, it's encumbered by...
It's encumbered by a street easement, creating
Correct.
a
So
situation.
to the letter of the law, that is correct. We could not build to the building line because of on 23rd Street.
So you couldn't, so therefore, it would be impossible to actually comply with the requirements, and so it would be in order to, it not only is peculiar to situation, but I think it would be necessary. I would defer to other board members to ask any questions.
No, it's,
Anybody wanting to be heard on this matter? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd move to approve number 14572.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the variance to the requirement that at least 80% of the front facade and 100% of the side facade be built at or within 10 feet of the right-of-way. So all those, please vote, please. And the variance has been granted.
Thank you.
Item number 3, case number 14573, request for a variance to the minimum 15-foot side yard setback in the R4 General Residential District located at 2525 North Virginia Avenue.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Chabard. I'm the president of the corporation that owns the house. It's a fraternity house at Oklahoma City University. It's a group of alumni who run the property. Property's been in place for about 40 years, and I believe from what I've heard, I don't know, I've only been around 40 years myself, but from what I've heard from the beginning, the steps in the front porch have been an issue. They degraded, just not really safe to traverse, they're steep, crumbling constantly. So finally, after many years, we had a generous donor who agreed to invest in a project to improve the front facade. It's about a $70,000 project in all, and there's a lot of improvements going on there I think that we can all agree are really helpful. Added in an ADA compliant ramp, took the steps, instead of going directly to the street, they go off to the side and then down to the street, so they're just not so steep. And I believe, of course, that picture is the former porch. The concern is the porch, as it's conceived going forward, would actually come out a little bit further. I believe in regard to visibility, probably the question as it relates to traffic would be on Northwest 25th Street as it comes into Virginia Avenue. That's the turn lane there, and you'd want to be able to look both ways, of course. There's quite a bit of difference between the street level and the house level, and then, of course, over and above that, the porch level. So I wouldn't really envision that being an issue for, even a semi-truck or anything of that nature. So I understand the ordinance and the concern as it relates to that. From a functional standpoint, I don't know that I'm aware of anything that would be a potential concern. But I'm happy to answer any questions, and also have our construction company, our crew leader here as well, that can speak to some of the technical details more than I can.
I've been out at that location, and I don't know that I could get up to the steps, up through the steps and to the door, the way it's currently built. It's definitely not ADA accessible. And your design is such that it will be see-through. Is that correct, the porch?
Let me just confirm that.
Because it's what they're saying.
That is right.
The porch is supposed to be open and will not impair visibility. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to, if approved, you'd have to get a revocable permit for that location. Is that correct?
Not unless it goes out onto the right-of-way, and it looks like you're keeping it back off the right-of-way. There is some of the steps and the concrete that goes out, that would have to be a revocable. That's on, or anything that's on that right-of-way is going to need to be a revocable.
And then, do you already build that porch? I mean, the slab and all that area?
The slab is there. Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. The overhang has yet to be installed.
Okay.
This is a college campus, and I don't know, is that street dedicated? Is that a dedicated city street, Virginia?
It's a local street. Yes, it's a public street.
Anyway, it's in a college campus environment, and so the traffic is very different at OCU campus, right? As opposed to being right on 23rd Street, where there's a lot of traffic. I think you have a situation, you have pre-existing of what you had before, and I think your design meets all the necessary requirements or requisites for the variance in this particular case. Board members, do you have any comments?
I'm just looking at the sign, and you say, are you following the footprint of the porch that used to be there, or how much bigger it is?
So the porch as proposed in the request would be larger than the previous porch. How far past the variance that would be, I don't know, could you speak to that? 1 foot, it's a 1 foot variance request.
I saw designs for accessibility, though, on both, is it on both sides or one side for sure, where you don't have accessibility currently, and the way you've designed it is to allow somebody to come up like a ramp or something, is that correct?
That's right. It's marked as the new concrete ADA ramp walkway, which connects the parking lot in the back to the porch in the front and keeps anyone from having to go over any steps or anything of that nature.
And how steep is that from the bottom of the curb all the way to the front of the fraternity house? It's pretty steep.
It is steep.
As far as I could tell, it looked very steep. You would need to have accessibility. Accessibility would be important at that particular location. Anybody else wanting to be heard on this matter? Questions?
I don't really have that many questions. I'm just concerned that it has already been built even before coming to the board for this variance. So I do understand. I drove by it as well, and I see that there is, the property is a different height than the street level. So I see the need for the stairs there. I really do not see the need of expanding of the porch, which already has been done. And I did pull into 25th, and I do not think that will obstruct the view if it's not covered, like it says here in your request. I'll feel comfortable approving this variance, like it states here.
To ask one more question, is there any alternative that you could do under the existence of the topography of that location?
Just ask my contractor on that. Any additional insight?
Could you give your name and address?
I'm Jesus Toralba, 2525 West Virginia. Is there anything that you have a concern on it?
Well, they say the variance is substantial. Now, some of it was earlier, the way you did the porch was not conforming.
We haven't built the porch yet. Actually, the height of the concrete slab that is existed is lower than the previous one. We lowered it by 8 inches. And the reason we built a retaining wall is because before it was railroad ties, and it was washing off, and it was a hazard for the people to walk and everything. All the previous concrete that was already with the trees, we removed the trees because that was causing the concrete to break apart. So that's the only reason we put the steps on the side. In the ramp, we built a new ADA handicap ramp. Yeah, actually, it's like 8 inches lower than the previous. So if you stay on 20 feet, you can look this way, and it's not going to impair nobody to see the incoming traffic.
Well, staff identified this as a substantial variance. In what way? If I could just have a few comments on that.
Well, the code for this, and we consider it, I know it looks like the front, but we consider it at the side yard. The front's over on whatever the other street is, 26th, would be a 15-foot setback from the property line. Well, they're taking it all the way out to the property line. So they're all the way into the 15-foot setback. To us, that was substantial. But they are, like they say, it doesn't look like it's a view obstruction, as long as it's kept open on all three sides.
It's going to be open on all three sides. It's just going to be kind of like a pavilion style attached to the roof. And that, the reason the donor is building this is just for more comfort for the students and the student family. Because with the previous building that was there was nobody coming around because it was deteriorating.
I will add, too, that if this was a residential house, you're allowed to put a porch 6 foot into that setback. This has to be considered commercial because of being a fraternity, and so it doesn't allow a porch. So we're considering the whole 15-foot, the setback, with no porch coming out into it.
I'd move approval of this variance.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve variance to the minimum 15-foot side yard setback in item case number 14573 for the reasons the requisites have been met. Let's all vote. The variances were granted.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, and thank you for your diligence on this, too. I really appreciate that.
Item number 6, case number 14577, request for a variance to allow 2 attached signs on one face of the building in the PUD 380 district located at 13200 Northwestern Avenue.
Good afternoon.
Pardon me,
Sure.
Madam Chairman, my law firm represents some of the people involved in this, so I'm going to recuse and will excuse myself.
We will not have a quorum.
I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. So then just automatic, I came all the way from Chicago. So it's just going to be continued then to next month, 7th, 21st?
Which date would you, we have one, we've talked about other dates. We could do the next one for March 7th, or we can do
I think I'm going to have to go with the 7th because we're under construction and they're trying to get the signs up,
So you want it as soon as, well, can we get any notice and everything out in time?
No notice needs to go out, but our next meeting is March 7th. That'd be as soon as possible as we could have it, 2 weeks.
I'm sorry, and
No
I'm
worries.
sorry for your inconvenience,
Right.
and I hope you at least can do something in Oklahoma City, because we have a wonderful
I'm going to go visit
city.
my daughter in Enid, which is nice, a little extra bonus. But,
Okay, so we need a motion, and action item here, we need a motion and a second. Oh, can we do that?
It would be automatically.
It's automatically continued, we can't even do a motion. Oh, I guess we could do a motion.
Is there like a time frame ahead of the meeting that I can make sure that there's a
He can't vote,
on the
so.
7th before I fly out, or is there?
It's automatically continued to March 7th.
Is there a timeline that I can find out ahead of time whether or not there's going to be a quorum for the next meeting? Because it's... Because people have issues that come up. Right. Never know. Right.
If I find out early that we have problems, I will contact you.
Okay.
Are you on the application?
I think Mr. Johnson is almost one and the same.
If you will give him all your information, if you have a card and how you can be reached, Mr.
No,
Wilson.
that's no problem. I know how to reach him. I can get a hold of him.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
That's the end of the docket.
We have no one in the audience to make comments. No citizens to be heard. Any other matters? Any members have any comments or anything? We are adjourned.